Hello everybody, I am Yuri. Welcome back to my crafty workshop. Today I'm starting a brand new cosplay with this beautiful fabric right here. If this looks familiar to you, you're already probably on the hype train for this anime movie trailer. That's a clue right there. And it's going to be Viktor from the recent Yuri on Ice Adolescence movie trailer. It's his Olympic season teen costume, and the trailer actually dropped right on my birthday, so I got super excited. The costume looks amazing, and I immediately felt like I wanted to make it. Today, I'm going to be making a mock-up for the costume. Hopefully I'll be able to teach you something and guide you through the common mistakes and traps that come with making a mock-up for a form-fitting costume. After today's session, I should be able to use the mock-up that I've made for not only this particular Viktor costume, but all other form-fitting costumes that I might need to make in the future. Before we begin, let me just do a really quick plug. If you love learning cosplay crafting with me, visit my website at akwiru.com and grab one of my books from the store. There's also a free archive of all the tutorials I've made on social media for you to look through, and a gallery full of pretty pictures as well. Also, please consider becoming a supporter on Patreon, where for any amount that you choose to pledge, you'll access all of my YouTube videos 30 days early. Plus, you'll automatically get a tutorial booklet and pattern of each part of a cosplay that gets complete. Thank you so much for letting me plug. I hope you enjoyed the video. First things first, we are going to get rid of this beautiful fabric and bring on this absolute trash fabric right here. And what is this fabric, you might ask? This is just some $1 per meter trash non-stretch fabric that I literally found in the bargain bin in the corner of the fabric store, and we are going to make a mock-up with it. Now, to make your mock-up, you can literally use any fabric in the world that you can find, because nobody's going to see it at the end, so it doesn't matter. But I like to follow two very important rules. The first one, it must be super cheap as possible. And that's because this fabric is where all the mistakes are going to happen, where we alter and retest and remake and trial and error until we are happy with a result to transfer onto the real fabric. So this is the crash dummy. That means we potentially might be wasting a lot of this fabric. Therefore, the cheaper this fabric can be, the better. The second rule I have for mock-up fabrics is that it must be non-stretch. And I use non-stretch fabric to make all of my mock-ups, even if it's for a stretchy costume like a bodysuit. And the reason for that is because non-stretch fabric will not accommodate to mistakes in fit. Stretch fabric is too nice, too generous, too flexible. It will lie to you and tell you that your pattern is fine even if it's not. Therefore, you want a non-stretch, unforgiving material when you're making your mock-up, so your pattern has to be perfect. Then, when you transfer your pattern onto your actual fabric and make your actual costume, the fit will still be nice. Even if it's a stretch costume, it will be even more comfortable, it will move with your body, and it won't lie to you. Lay out the fabric nice and flat so you can draw comfortably on it. Then, I'm going to get my favorite t-shirt and lay it down on top. Now, because I'm not a trained seamstress, I am not able to pattern block from scratch, but from all of my years of making costumes, I do know what the pattern blocks are supposed to look like. Therefore, if I just put down a piece of my clothing and dot out some guidelines, I can finish the panels just fine. Here's where I dot the markers. I do one on the shoulder, on the neck, and the other shoulder, and then one each on the armpit, and then trace down the side. Like that. And then a little bit on the neckline. And then after that, I can just lift it off and finish it. How I'll do it is I'll join up the neckline first. And then join the edge of the neckline to the shoulder. That's very rough, but it will give me an idea of what to do. And then from here, the main challenge is just to make the armhole. The armhole should look a little bit like this. It should come into the body a little bit and then back out to the armpit. And then at the armpit, it should be flat. So you're making a right angle at the armpit hole. So the same would go to the other side. I'm pretty confident in my drawing, of both sides being the same. But if you are not, you can do one side, fold it in half, and then transfer it onto the other side to make it absolutely symmetrical for you. The mock-up at first should look a little bit like this. So this is the sleeve, this is the neck hole, and this is the other sleeve. Once you have done that, you can copy it twice and have it open on the other one. Yay. And then from here, you can pin the side seam narrower and narrower to fit your body, or you can add additional darts to achieve all sorts of shapes that you're after. Once you've pinned the front and back together, you can try it on. So right now it looks a little bit like a bag right now, like a trash bag. With any sewing, I like to suggest making something a little bit baggy and then taking it in until it eventually fits. It's always better to go larger and then take it in than to go smaller and have nowhere to go. Once you've fiddled around with the fit of your torso, next would be to do the sleeves. Sleeves are very intimidating for a lot of people, but it's actually quite simple. A typical sleeve panel actually just looks like this. You'll see here is the shoulder, this is the armpit, and from the shoulder to the armpit, there's just like an S-shaped curve. The steeper this curve here, the sharper the shoulder's gonna turn. So the more mobility you want, the flatter this curve should be. When it comes to measuring, this curve right here needs to match up with the measurement of your armhole from the torso right here. So make sure this and this matches up, or else your sleeve won't fit into your armhole. A common little death trap when you're making sleeves is a lot of people measure their wrist for the bottom of their sleeve, and then when you try it on, it won't fit through, and that's because your hands are actually wider than your wrist. So if you measure the skinny part of your wrist for the end of the sleeve, you won't be able to put it through. Therefore, for the end skinny bit of the sleeve, this measurement right here, instead of measuring your wrist, measure your fist instead, so you make sure you can always put your arm through your sleeve. Like this. Now some of you who have never made sleeves before might be wondering, why is it an S-shaped curve instead of just, a semicircle or a round curve or even just a rectangle? Well, it could be either one of those as well. It could be a round curve, it could be a rectangle, but you'll get a different look out of it. A typical sleeve is this S curve because pretty much a sleeve is a cylinder plus a little bit on the shoulder. So let me show you through this sleeve right here. See? So the shoulder is poking out, there's a little bit more area to cover, and then there is this tube that's the rest of the arm. So there's the tube for the rest of the arm, and the shoulder right here is extra area to cover, so that needs to come from halfway up the armpit up to the top of the shoulder. So if we look at it from this point of view, here is the armpit where my arm will extend down to my wrist, and then this is the extra area for the shoulder that needs to be covered. If we draw it like we imagine it, with just a straight curve like a semicircle, then you'll have extra fabric around here and it will just poke out when you bend your arms down. And technically you can just draw a rectangle and make it into a sleeve, and that's how kimonos work, and you get that boxy look that's really satisfying. But For this costume, that's not what we're after. We're after a form-fitting sleeve, and therefore we need that S-shaped curve going. So once we're done drawing the sleeve and we've made sure the S curve right here matches up to the armhole curves, we can start attaching the sleeve onto the torso. And how to do that is very simple. We just fold the sleeve in half, pin it all along here to make it into a tube, like this one I've prepared earlier. And then pin the sleeve along the armhole until you've got a pinned up shirt going on. Make sure when you're making a mock-up or making any costumes, you're constantly trying it on to make sure it still fits. And this is not bad. Pin, 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 pin. Repeat till cry. From here, it's just pin after pin. I'm still pinning. I'm done! Yay! Let's see how this fits. I look like I'm wearing a trash bag. It's not bad. Yay! Now that the top half is done, I can start making the mock-up for the bottom half, which is just a circle skirt. So circle skirts are actually super easy. You're just making a giant fabric donut with your waist measurement in the middle. So just measure your waist like this. Determine how long you want the skirt to be here, so how thick your donut's going to be, and then put your waist measurement as a donut hole right in the middle, like so. And then you've got a circle skirt. Now the way that I know this is a circle skirt from Viktor's costume is because right on the top of his skirt there is no wrinkles. So that means there's less fabric up top and more fabric down at the bottom. And how to do that is just a fabric donut. Once you've made your donut, it's time to try it on and be fabulous. Haha, yay! I'm a delicate flower! So now it's time to put the top and the bottom together. Haha, check it out! I feel fabulous! So the mock-up sits really well and fits well on my body. It's super comfortable, I can move in it, and it moves really nicely when I move. So the most difficult part of this mock-up process is over, and now the fun will really begin. I can start drafting and patterning and sketching all of the details and pretty things that go onto this costume, and from now on it's smooth sailing until the entire costume is done. And there you have it, my first session working on a brand new costume. Viktor Nikiforov from the Yuri on Ice Adolescence movie trailer, the mock-up drafting session. I hope you enjoyed today's session, I hope you learned something, and I hope I was able to point out some death traps that this costume could cause you, and I hope that will help you in the future. If you enjoyed this session, please like and subscribe, and consider grabbing one of my cosplay books from akwiru.com or becoming a Patreon supporter. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you next session. Bye! Hello again guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. This episode was made possible by your amazing support on Patreon and Twitch, with special thanks to Isabel, Jonathan, Carly, April, Chad, Sylvia, Hello Lelo, Anamessa, Mary Dignan, and Natalie. Thank you so much again. I will see you in the next session, but in the meantime, please stay crafty.